Hello, folks. Welcome to lesson 82. It is today another opportunity for us to have a look at the buying and selling of airtime as a radio practitioner and how the process goes around advertising in compelling ways. So, we know that radio is funded essentially by strong advertising, and a key element in that is great copy. When I talk about copy, I talk about the scripting, the narrative, the storytelling, the physical phrasing of the messages we advertise on air. And this isn't about a link. A link is content chosen by a presenter or producer. But in terms of copy, it's the kind of scripting that's given to presenters to bring moments on air to life in compelling ways. And to get that done on behalf of a client, you have to have a clear, so easily understood and easily traceable message. So it must be clear that if McDonald's advertises this, it's McDonald's as opposed to another random burger joint. It must be credible, so it must be sound legit. It must be correct phrasing. It must sound like it's something that's been written by a professional copywriter. Original, a unique thought, an interesting way of being done, not a copy. Relevance, so it can matter to people, and empathetic, so it understands the needs of its listeners. A well-written script should really make people feel moved. They should feel some kind of way about it. It's a really great advert. Makes people think, oh, that's pretty funny, or that's really smart, and helps elevate the standard of that brand in the minds of people. Because ultimately, it's our job to sell radio, right? Scripting is a bit of a science. So there's a systematic approach you can do to make sure you're building an effective message when advertising. And let me tell you, as a presenter, there is nothing more frustrating than to deal with bad copy and bad advertising because it's not thought out properly. It's important to follow this approach to make sure it's done really, really well. And as someone who might head into the industry and compete against the world of AI, it's really important that you have this unique edge, the radio specific language that can't be put onto a computer, and the human touch that helps separate you from your peers and your computer based peers. Make sure the message is clear, credible, original, and authentic to that target audience. It feels like home. The key thing is to know who you're speaking to, know which audience you want to address. If you are advertising a luxury brand like Jaguar, for example, it might be worth avoiding language responsible for the youth, the youth's language, because what kind of 17-year-old can buy a Jaguar? Not many. Maybe Robbie Malinga could have back in the day, maybe a certain couple of political figures. But other than that, like generally 17-year-olds don't care about Jaguars, they care about Golfs or any kind of transport. So it's important to know who you're making content for. Think about the brand, who they're acquiring, and speak in a language that feels authentic to them. Research their needs and create a piece of copy that speaks to them, that communicates with them, that kind of talks their language. If you are advertising to isiZulu speaking people here in KZN for a brand new version of SA's Got Talent that's going to be spoken about in isiZulu on SABC One. There's no use using a British voiceover artist potentially. Use someone South African, make it sound like a language that is their own, speak to them in their own language. So there are four phases of design thinking. When I talk about design thinking, it's about a problem-solving process. And the idea is to develop effective, original, and authentic ads, designing for growth. You create design, you create advertising that helps a business grow. What is, what if, what wows, what works? Those are the key questions to ask. First up, what is? Understanding the audience, right? Empathizing with your listeners, engaging with them to uncover the needs that they want to speak up about and the needs they haven't spoken up about. Understanding what people's life is like so you can understand what they truly require assistance with, and we can help them solve their problems through creative advertising. So, understanding what compels someone to choose a washing powder in this instance, both consciously, is it price, is it brand, is it reputation, or unconsciously, is it the fact that their grandmother might have used that? This is a legacy product. It's been around since the 1950s, so therefore its continued use exists in modern society regardless of its competitors. Think about Ariel, the modern one, versus Omo, which one's been around for longer? And do people enjoy the particular scent of Omo because it feels like their grandmother's house? That's an unarticulated need. And if we can understand that, we can play into it as advertisers. Articulated, direct responses from people. I like this brand of shoe because my heels feel supported, my ankles aren't so tired, and I feel like I could climb up a wall because the grip is so good. Unarticulated, some subconscious reasons. They look really sharp. They make your outfit tight together. So use implicit questioning techniques, things like with these shoes, do you feel like you could run a mile in them? Actually, yeah, I do. Then we know that the shoes being hired by that person to allow them to feel like a fitness fanatic. I prefer this brand of t-shirt because it's a better piece of quality, but it actually has a really great fit around the mkaba. So my tummy's a bit bulgy right now. I'm not feeling that lean. So I buy a t-shirt that really protects that. That's an unarticulated need we can capitalize on. So we ask people, how does a shirt make you feel? How do you feel in the shirt? That's an example of what it currently exists. What if the idea is that it's a time for brainstorming, creating something, uh, being creative and creating ideas in the situation, gathering data to form a compelling story. Let's say we're advertising for Nike, and their next big move is to move their store online here in Africa. And so you use gate data, you say in the sample space of 300, 300, you know, students at Boston across South Africa, over 70% have sold or have rather bought stuff online in the past, right? That would be great data you've acquired, and you could then use that data to create a compelling story about how you need to be advertising on radio. I mean, advertising on radio to sell your online store. Put your online store on the radio because there's clearly an existing market for it. Incorporate storytelling into your advert. So, what kind of stories are we looking to build here? Africa is an evolving continent. We're leapfrogging people, and we want to embrace the digital age through the wonder of the cell phone. As an example, we are hungry for change, and we get it done by ourselves. So create a story around how Africa is evolving to sell the idea you want to advertise on the radio for your online store. That storytelling is the key element in this. We know storytelling intimately in this course. The hook, how we grab attention, the first 7 seconds, what can we do to make you say, oh, that's worth listening to? Is it a jingle? Jingles are so effective. People dismiss jingles as being nonsense. Jingles are so powerful. Think about ba da 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 or um Timber City or Tiger Wheel and Tire. Jingles are of the past, but man, they work. One example, we have a current jingle running on the radio station that I work on for that brand We Buy Cars. Their advertising relies on that song. I would buy 500 cars and I would. It's a Pretenders song or Proclaimers song from the 1980s called 500 Miles. They make a parody about selling cars. I was at a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and the bride walked down the aisle to the Proclaimers a song. And let me tell you, all I could hear was, I would buy 500 cars during that wedding. It wasn't the actual version, it was a slowed down, like wedding version. But yes, that happened. And I thought about the advert because jingles work so well. So what's your hook? A jingle, a strong sentence, a rhetorical question, whatever the case is, a good hook, grabbing my attention. The crumbs, what you can do along the way to keep me engaged, twists and turns in the story to keep me interested. The payoff, what is the key message you want to deliver? And the blackouts, what signals the end of a particular advert, right? This feels like we're in class because I've currently received a WhatsApp message from the class WhatsApp group. Let me reply because people are relying on me. It's done right now. Let's talk about some script formats. And by the way, I recognize we've left it at what if over here, right? You'll see that. We will come back to this. It's part of the next set of lectures. So what is what if? We continue now to script formats. What kind of scripts do we have? Millions. How long is a piece of string? But here are some main ones for you. An announcement, one person speaking to the listener. Simple, it's active, and it's engaging. Hey, there's news. There's a big soccer match happening at Mabhida Stadium this weekend. We're going to have Usutsu going up against Amakosi. Who will win the fixture? That's a great way. It's a natural conversation, good bed music, nice crowd cheering sounds, all that important stuff. Then we have another one called the dialogue, where it's two people talking. It works really, really well. Like two people having a conversation, maybe even three, maybe even four. Hard to keep track of if it's more than a couple of people. But essentially, you have two people saying, it sounds a bit cheesy sometimes, but saying, oh, here's a problem, here's a solution, here's the brand. If that makes sense to you. So, for example, Have you heard about the brand new Nissan Qashqai? No, I've heard about the Qashqai. No, ladies, it's Qashqai. That's a famous Nissan Qashqai advert that was on the radio back in the day. That took advantage of our Nguni language clicks here in South Africa. That was a We have one called vignettes, which are brief evocative scenes creating a problem and a solution. They set the kind of scenario for us here with strong narrative-based story tells. This sweet smell of apple crumble and a tiny red ant climbing. Imagine a world where you're able to sleep all night long, uninterrupted. Come by from Beds or Us. That kind of thing is an example of a vignette. And then we have a powerful narrative-based story that essentially is a story with an issue that is resolved by using a product or a service. Are you feeling bored in the car? Do you hate your current playlist? Why not download Spotify? And that could be a way that you're able to tell a really good story, or maybe even personalize it. In this instance, Mpilo is feeling very, very sad because she misses her lecturer, Mike. So she should consider using FaceTime, brand new on the or available on the new iPhone 16. That kind of problem solution thinking is the way that we are able to arrive at some kind of clear narrative. Choosing the right format. Talk about what there's no reason you can't combine formats here. So we've gone through these formats of different radio ads. There's no reason you can't combine them. There's no reason you can't combine a narrative piece with elements of an announcement. So you first have the story bit in the first 15 seconds. The next 15 seconds helps fills in the blank, if that makes sense. All right. Visualizing the script, use strong language, help the listener picture the ad. The old saying from an English teacher, show, don't tell, is an important principle here. Don't tell me that it's windy. Say, as the trees sway, that shows it's windy, right? Show, don't tell. Stimulate those strong emotions. We'll play some audio of that very, very shortly. So use clear language, use active language, ensure emotional engagement, make people feel something, curiosity, humor, whatever it is. Think of it being creative. Provide a compelling call to action. Make it clear what people need to do. Sign up right now. Go to the website. Postbox this. Whatever the situation is, make sure there's a call to action and focus on creating a good hook, right? Let us go and have a look at some modern examples of great radio advertising. Okay, first up, from the 1990s, this comes from the country of India, and it's an example of a Sprite radio advert. They had a very famous tennis player called Sonia, and this simulates the sound of tennis, the crowd cheering, and the person saying 1 point to Sonia, 15 love, that kind of thing. It simulates that with the sound effect of Sprite. Crowd cheer.
Have a Sprite and cheer for Sonia.
Pretty smart. A parody is the sound of tennis, really, really good, but not the world's greatest, but a great use of sound. Let's do one that is one of my favorites from a brand called Eardrum, a very, very famous radio advertising brand. They now focus on audio of all kinds, and this is an advert for Kit Kat, and it parodies the people who love bragging about going for early morning runs. Listen to this.
Dear early morning marathoner, please don't stop. You run marathons, early, all the time. If you're not running them, you're training for them, early, all the time. Good for you. There's nothing more energizing than hearing about you taking 100,000 more steps than everyone else that week. It's inspiring. Makes us wish we hadn't forgotten to go to the gym for 2 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Oh yeah, you must be tired though. So have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Another personal best. Good for you.
A parody is the way people who are active runners love to tell everyone about their active running. A great narrative piece that tells a great story with a very clear call to action. Have a break, have a Kit Kat. I mean, it's perfect. This is a South African masterpiece from Futari back in the day. It was a great ice cream brand, and it's set to kind of visually or create a visual theater in your mind of you drinking this delicious sort of golden liquid that makes you feel refreshed. And instead of doing that, rely on Futari to do it. Strong language, not that intellectually sound, I suppose, not that innovative, but a very, very powerful evocation of feelings in this advert.
Feeling negative? Want to feel positive? Take a glass. For you, it will be half empty. Stare at the glass with your eyes. Feel the water rising, swelling into a glass half full. No? Still half empty? Sod it. Just fill it up.
Or skip that insanity and try Frutari Fruit Ice! Made with real fruit from real fruit trees! It's an instant burst of positive feelings!
The change in tone, the delivery, the kind of esoteric feeling at the end towards a practical solution, just perfect. One of the world's smartest adverts from IKEA. It's so effective. It just gets to the point so quickly and neatly, and well done. Check this out.
Honey, you know what day it is tomorrow?
Tuesday? Sofa beds from just $136 at IKEA.
Perfect advert. 20 seconds long. Very few words. A dialogue, relatable content, great voice acting. The sound of the nighttime crickets in the background is just perfect. It's like one of the greatest adverts you could possibly conceive of. One more. It's just perfect. It's so smart, so well written. It does the job. The sound of the bed falling is perfect as well.
Do you know what the hardest part of pregnancy is?
Picking a name.
Sofa beds from just $136 at IKEA.
It's just great advertising. And then the last one of the world's best adverts ever created for radio, and from South Africa.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hello, Cedric.
I once handed back an unopened jar of mayonnaise.
You're still a man, Cedric.
I YouTubed how to change a light bulb.
You're a man.
I took a microwave on a camping trip.
You're still a man.
Watching synchronized swimming really calms me.
Man.
I like my eyebrows tidy.
Yes, you do. And you are still a man.
I work out in the colored weights section.
Well, men can do that.
Sports is gross.
Still a man.
My nipples are sensitive.
Mine too. Man.
I don't high five. You know, germs.
I know. Still a man.
I walk.
Yeah?
Speed walk.
Speed walking.
Uh-huh.
With the hips thing.
Yep.
Ah, still a man. The fully loaded man meal from KFC for every kind of man.
I love you.
I love you too, man.
Perfect scripting. It contradicts every version of what we think advertising should, or the expectations of a modern man. It's very sincere. It's well executed. The music's great. Performance is great. Messaging is clear. You can still be a man if you have KFC. It's really great advertising and is the kind of brand promotion that ends up making big differences for brands at the end of the day. All right, cool. That's what copy can do for you and is an important part of the radio making process. With that, I bid you a temporary adieu and we'll see you next week. Thanks, folks.